Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at a 11 game slate tonight, and ton of pitching. You got cores. I mean, this one's going to be an interesting one to kind of deal with.
Yeah. I mean, so we've had this type of situation before, even recently, where there's aces and cores. I mean, you just kind of gotta make some decisions here. And obviously we are going to sort of break it down for you, but at the same time, like, Coors, yes, but you're not going to get that ace with it either. I mean, unless you're really stingy somehow, but I don't really see it. So, I don't know. I'm leaning towards pitching, honestly.
Yeah, I am too. And I think there are enough games that we can talk about here that are good for offense. And obviously you're going to look at, maybe trying to get one or two pieces in. And I think kind of getting like a Logan Forsythe or an Evan Longoria in there and then just trying to build around. So, maybe get one guy in there and start to kind of go around with the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, for sure.
So Marlins and Phillies, first one here, you got Jose Fernandez and Aaron Nola. Obviously, you're not looking at the Phillies side of things. But the Miami prices here on FanDuel are pretty nice. I mean, especially Stanton and Yelich. I mean, I know Nola's been reasonably good for this season, but kind of trending downwards over his last handful of starts. So I'm not exactly scared of attacking Nola, especially with these prices.
Yeah, I don't like the rest of the lineup, but those two you mentioned, Yelich, Stanton, I think we can fire away with that and feel really comfortable at those prices with sort of the upside they bring. And Nola's last 5 or 6 performances, they haven't been up to par or up to what we sort of came to expect of him early in the year. So I don't see how we can expect him to just have a quality start out of nowhere. I expect him to continue on that trend. So Yelich and Stanton are definitely where I'm making my move.
Yeah, definitely. I think those guys open up some really nice value, and they're obviously premium players for a pretty cheap price. And I'm with you. I think, obviously a Marcell Ozuna at 3.5 isn't too bad, but it's still a little bit more. I think we're going to have to nickel and dime it tonight. I think those 400 is still going to come in handy elsewhere. And I'm not really a big fan of Prado, Real Muto, or those types of plays tonight. I just kind of stick with the big guns.
Right.
Mets and Cubs, next one here. You got Steven Matz versus John Lester. And I'm not expecting a ton of production, but obviously I think you'd expect it more so from the Cubs side, unless you're banking on the Mets to just hang 9 runs on John Lester again. But I'm not expecting that.
Yeah. I like Lester. I think he's been a little inconsistent, but at the same time, at that price on a slate like this, I think it's going to be a little more contrarian tournament-ish in terms of ownership. So I think that's a nice little swerve there off the top pitching options. So not touching any of the Mets, and I'm probably staying away from the Cubs as well.
Yeah, I think the only kind of Cubs bat that I might pop in is Chris Bryant, just because he's hammered lefties. And I just like, obviously, Nolan Arenado and Evan Longoria are going to be the chalky third baseman tonight. So I think paying up and going with a contrarian Chris Bryant could be a solid way of kind of making your move. And I don't mind Javier Baez at 2.6. I still don't mind that price, even against Mats.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair price. As we saw on DK, he's kind of getting boosted up there quite a bit. But at the same time, 2,600 against the lefty, and Matt's obviously been really inconsistent, a little banged up, it seems. So I think we're good to fire away with some of the value in that lineup.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got a Zobrist who's under 3K, Wilson Contreras at 3,100. So I don't necessarily mind these Cubs. I mean, I'm not really looking to attack them in cash games, but I think GPPs are kind of good mixers.
Like wine mixers?
I don't know. You don't mix wine.
It's the Catalina wine mixer.
Oh,
I'm assuming people
like
mix wine.
No, it's like a mixer, like, mix it up.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Again, you guys will be able to catch me. I just say things sometimes. Words, phrases, statements. Sometimes I don't know. Yeah.
Orioles and Yankees next one here, and
Mm.
you gotta like this one for offense. I mean, in Yankee Stadium, Ivan Nova on the hill been very poor against both sides of the plate. Big home run threat for a lot of these Orioles bats, and look at Nova. I mean, 371 WOBA to lefties this year, 2.14 home runs per nine. Um, on the right side, 331 WOBA, 1.36 home runs per nine. So for me, I think you got to look really 1 through 6 here for the Baltimore Orioles as one of the top offenses outside of Coors. I think they rank number one for me.
Yeah, and you kind of see the Yankees sort of scoping in on Gossman here with that lineup, a bunch of lefties. Obviously, he struggled against lefties this year, so um, I think that front of that lineup's going to be trouble for him. But quickly to the Orioles, I really like Chris Davis tonight. I think he's never really a cash game guy. I think he's potentially in cash game consideration at 35 tonight. So I really like that. I really like Wieters. I think you can throw Trumbo in there too as sort of a power guy who can still, um, he still has home run power against righties. So I like the 4 through 6 there quite a bit. And then, yeah, Ellsbury, Gardner, Beltran. Those are the guys I'm looking at there, as well as McCann. So I think those are all in pretty much cash play for me if you can fit them in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, kind of some cheaper price tags on that Yankees side, and I like Jonathan Scope at 3.2. I think that's a really nice, price tag for him on the slate hitting second. Same thing with Adam Jones at 3.5. I don't think you need to kind of dive up into the fours tonight for outfield. So I think that Jones range, that 3,500, is just where I'm going to land, just because of the prices of pitching.
Yeah, agreed.
So, yeah, but I think this game, I mean, really outside of course, this is kind of my number one stop where I'm heading in and looking for offense.
Yeah, I really, really like the upside of the Orioles lineup tonight. I think they can compete with just about anyone.
Yeah, definitely. Twins Tigers next one here. I think this one's going to be another offensive showing.
Mm.
Matt Boyd versus Ricky Nolasco, and obviously the Twins against lefties have been very solid this year, and the algorithm apparently knows it because you got Dozier and Sano both over 4K. I think they are GPP options because of the price tags. Like, once again, you're not paying down a pitching to get Twins in your lineup. It just sounds odd to say, but I mean, they are in a great spot, and this team does hit lefties very well.
Yeah, I like Nunez and Sano. It is expensive, and it is only a tournament-only move, but I do like them. I think you can fire away with them and feel pretty confident against Boyd. So it's not like they're 45 each. It is expensive. It's tough to fit, the highest of end pitchers in there. But if you go with like a Lester or something, definitely reasonable. And I mean, again, I don't think everyone's going to be moving in that direction. So a really high upside for them.
Yeah, definitely. And you look at this Tigers team. I mean, I like them a lot tonight. I just think price considered, they're in a really great spot because you have your values like Maybin, Victor Martinez, Upton, all cheaply priced that can kind of fit into a Jose or Fernandez or a Chris Sale type lineup, and you're getting exposure to a great offense. So I love the Tigers' value tonight. I love Miguel Cabrera at 3.6. I think it's a reasonable price tag for him.
Yeah, and Victor Martinez, a cash option for me. I don't know about you, but 3,100 for him, batting fourth at that catcher spot on FanDuel. You got to take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Justin Upton, I mean, obviously he's been relatively, I'll be generous beast, but very inconsistent this year. 2,300, I mean, a punt play price against a bad right-hander who doesn't miss many bats. I mean, I'll definitely take my shots with Upton. I think he's going to be a pretty popular play just because he's given you a decent spot in the lineup. He's given you some upside at a very cheap price on a night where you need value.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much making like 10K per pitch, So let's hope he can turn it around at some point.
I know he's had a couple good upside games, but it
Yeah.
seems like it's been a while again.
Yeah.
Reds and Braves next one here, and both teams are projected for over 4 runs. I kind of like Brandon Finnegan as a GPP play tonight, just because he's super cheap and can give you some upside. So, and the Braves obviously haven't been good against lefties this year. So, I think really Jeff Francoeur is the only one I might take a shot at, or like an Adonis Garcia. I mean, I might take a shot at a couple of the righties, but as far as GPPs go, there's not a lot. I'm doing with the Braves.
Jason. Now, I would go with you, except forgot about the old man Gordon Beckham there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I definitely like the logic there. Lefties versus Braves. Finnegan really cheap. I mean, I think decent shot at a win there too. Whistler obviously has pretty tough matchup against those lefties, so I'm okay with that. I'm not necessarily on my radar. I'm okay with some of these Braves as tournament guys, honestly, but in the same respect, I could see this team just getting shut down and definitely not hitting that over under of 4 runs, for them.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you got to look on tonight's slate. There's very limited, you know, secondary options as far as cheap guys, and I think Finnegan is going to be a guy people look at for cores and try and kind of hit more so on the bats and get a nice outing out of Finnegan, which I
Mhm.
think I'll definitely be doing at one point or another tonight
Right,
as well. So, yeah, I mean, not really looking at too many of those Braves bats outside of maybe a couple right-handers.
right.
As far as the Reds go, I do like the lefties there. You look at this matchup. I mean, I don't think it's a relatively easy one for the Reds, but I think I'm just going to be picky with some of those guys as far as Hamilton, Votto, Bruce, the usual suspects, and still even an Adam Duvall at 3-1s at that price is intriguing.
Yeah, I think you go 3 through 5 there and feel okay if that's the direction you want to go. I mean, they are projected for basically 5 runs, so there is some upside there, but they're more of a contrarian swerve than more of someone you're putting all your eggs in. You're
Yeah, definitely.
putting all your eggs in the basket.
I mean, I don't mind a Billy Hamilton. Just because he gives
Mm,
you that stolen base upside for
26.
26, and
Yeah.
he gets on base there, and notches in a steal or two. I mean, bam, you're all set. So I don't mind him for a guy who's under 3K in the outfield.
Yeah, agree with that.
Padres and Cardinals next one here, Christian Frederick and Mike Leake. And some of these price tags, I mean, I don't mind a Solarte at 3,100 for the Padres or a Matt Kemp at 2,700. I mean, I know Leake's coming off a 10 strikeout performance against the Brewers, but let's not make him out to be a freaking stud right-handed pitcher that you're staying away from.
Yeah, in one respect, I agree, but in sort of in terms of this slate, I'm probably not going to be taking much risk on them. If it was a smaller slate, I think we could dive into this a little more and sort of get into the Solartes, or the Kemps, But at the same time, I just don't think you really need to go that direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm talking deep, deep contrarian
No,
GPP
I know.
play.
I wasn't saying you were wrong. I was just saying that you were wrong and that we shouldn't be playing Padres in cash, Jason.
No, I'm not playing Padres in cash, but a Matt Kemp might work his way into a lineup in GPP
Mm,
territory just because of that price tag and
yeah.
getting outside the Petco for him. Obviously, Bush Stadium isn't a tremendous upgrade, but it is still getting out for decent right-handed power. So
Hmm.
I'm more on the Cardinals bats at some of their prices. I mean, obviously, you
Yeah.
got to look at some of the righties against Frederick there. Um, and I think really, I mean, the front 5, 6 guys, I mean, 7, I guess, are all right-handers. So, um, you got some value like Holiday, Peralta, um, Tommy Pham if he's hitting leadoff again. I wish the Diaz price was a little cheaper, but obviously I can still muster that at 3,600.
Oh, I love the top four here. Piscotty, okay, Piscotty and Diaz both 36, but I think there's tons of upside in those top four. So I'm definitely willing to fire away with those. In potentially a cash game situation. Fam as well, as you mentioned, if he's up there, and then Holiday, kind of like the throw in that stack, but I do sort of like his price tonight.
Yeah, I definitely do too. And I mean, overall, the Cardinals haven't been great against lefties, but look at Frederick. I mean, not a guy who you kind of can shy away from, especially at those prices on this slate.
Yeah.
So, next game here, we got the Cleveland Indians and the Kansas City Royals. Edison Volquez, Corey Kluber. This game, I mean, I'm not really intrigued on both sides. I mean, I could get behind those secondary pieces for the Indians still, but overall, I think this game is just outside of Kluber a stay away for me. I mean, I'm not really a big fan of it. I don't think there's a ton of production outside of maybe Kluber.
Yeah, I agree. Kipnis, I mean, I like that price at 35, but again, it's not like Volquez is is Christian Friedrich out there. So I think in terms of these prices, I think I'd rather go to the Cardinals and dance around with those top four instead of going to the Indians, in that type of range.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of. I mean, as you mentioned, the Kipnis price tag's pretty fine. Same thing with
Yeah.
Lindor, but
Yeah.
Mike Napoli. I mean, same price as Miguel Cabrera.
Right.
Chisenhall still always worth the play for me. Just at 3K, always it's just kind of that consistent cash game option.
Right. And yeah, obviously not playing Royals against Kluber. Although, I mean, no.
Rays Rockies next one here, and two lefties on the hill. And the one thing you got to look at, I mean, Smiley, 342 will allowed to righties this year, 1.80 home runs per nine. Obviously, you got to love the upside of Arenado. You got to like the upside of Story, even a Ryan Rayburn or a Mark Reynolds for that home run potential.
Yeah, he's certainly. I was gonna do a smile joke, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm. You guys are gonna live today because I'm not gonna do that. I'm sorry. Um, Yeah, Arenado is really the guy you're looking at here, especially in terms of high end guys. He's probably my number one bat tonight. Just it's too that's easy for him in Coors, That's just rolling Smiley out there to get sacrificed. So I like Story as well, obviously righties. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily going after Blackman Cargo tonight. I think you might be able to take the night off from them.
I don't mind them in GPP still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think cash games you're obviously one with the righties, and you still could Smiley. I mean, still decent home run potential for left-handers, 1.77 home runs per nine. But yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. I think cash game wise, I'm paying down the outfield. And if I'm looking to get exposure to the Colorado side, it is going to be with Story and Arenado.
Yeah.
So, as far as the Rays go, I mean, you're going to see him plug in more right-handers, and obviously you got to like the righties. I mean, there's a reason why the right-hander or why this team's top five in WOBA against lefties, because they all have a lot of guys that hit lefties very well. So, I like the Rays quite a bit tonight. I know Anderson's pitched relatively well, but you got to like Longoria, you got to like Forsythe, kind of as the main guys, and when you see a guy like Tim Beckham come in or a guy like Brandon Geyer,
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be there too.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even a guy like Steven Souza, he's expensive, but I think in terms of cores and the potential upside that brings, I think you can fire away with him in a tournament type scenario.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So I think it's a good game to get exposure to. Obviously, you're looking at the righties more so than the lefties in this game altogether.
Mhm.
Astros and A's. Next one here, Kendall Graveman versus Mike Fiers. And Mike Fiers is another cheap guy that I'm looking at. So I'm not really looking to take the A's bats who come off a decent day, but overall haven't been great. I guess if you want to be contrarian or you want to work in maybe a value piece, like I don't hate a Josh Reddick at 2,800. I think he's an intriguing option.
They're really cheap. They're really cheap. I mean, I kind of like Vot, but at the same time, I do understand not wanting to necessarily, stack the A's tonight. I don't think they're going to do too much damage against Fires, but I'm okay with some of the one-offs here, Reddick and Vot, and I mean Marcus Semien 2,400. Obviously not spectacular against righties, but at the same time, I mean that's really cheap.
Yeah, it definitely is, and they are cheap. I mean, I think there is a decent value here with those bats 1 through 6, and I could see them being more so in play here on FanDuel than we'll talk about over on DraftKings, just
Right.
because of the prices and what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Houston side goes, I like the Carlos Correa price tag at 3.3. I just think Altuve at 5K. I mean, obviously we saw a monster upside game yesterday, but on this slate it doesn't really pan out for me. Just kind of paying that price for a second baseman.
Yeah, give me Marwin and Correa from that lineup, and I think I'm just taking the night off from the Altuve Springer grouping.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I grab some value pieces. I think even a Colby Rasmus or Carlos Gonzalez are intriguing just because of their price tags.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, when you can get Foresight in course against a lefty, for a K less than Altuve.
I mean, it's just Forsythe's in a really good spot. So I think he's the cash game guy for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy I'm trying to get into most of my lineups tonight.
Right.
Rangers and Angels here, and this one, there was not a lot of appeal at all from this game whatsoever for me.
Mm-mm.
And you know what? For the most part, a lot of these Angels games are exactly the same way as where I just go, okay, if there's not a guy who's absolutely awful on the hill, I'm just staying away.
Yeah. Uh, and it's just so like it's just it's just all man. Like you kind of like some of these Rangers bats, honestly. Like an Odor at 31. I definitely looked back at him a few times when I was sort of first looking over the slate, but it's just not all that appealing. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I just think there's better options elsewhere.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's in LA, not a great hitter's ballpark. I mean, two right-handers that are capable of going out there and kind of just limiting damage, which I think is what's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be a ton of upside, but as you mentioned, I mean, Odor's price tag is nice at 3,100. And you look at Tropiano, if you are attacking him, it's going to be with lefties.
Right. Exactly.
So on the night for the Angels, I mean, I'm not really intrigued with these guys. I mean, Calhoun's price 3,300, I don't mind. Still, if you need a punt, play Daniel Nava, 2K hitting fifth. Should be in some RBI situations. As a matter of fact, if he comes through, that's a different story. But if you're looking for value, he still remains that guy.
Right. At 2K, all you're looking at is for an opportunity to be at that game, watching the game cast with two guys on and like one out, and he's up. Like that's all you can ask for at 2K, you know? So, but yeah, no, that's solid. But yeah, other than that, I mean, as you mentioned, Cole Calhoun price is okay. Other than that, nah.
Yeah, definitely. White Sox and Mariners last game of the night. Chris Sale versus Wade LeBlanc, another two lefty game. I think we can kind of just jump through the Seattle lineup really quick. I mean, obviously you're looking at Sale coming off an awful start against the Braves. Moving into Safeco, I'm expecting him to bounce back. You look at this Mariners team, not great against lefties. The only real guys that he has to worry for is basically Nelson Cruz. Because obviously I think you look at the lefty with Seager and Cano, and he's kind of he'll look like his usual self against lefties.
I mean, I could see someone putting in Cruz in a tournament lineup, and I wouldn't like if you put Cruz in a tournament lineup, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's dumb. You know, like it could hit, but it's not really the percentages I don't think are in your favor. Obviously, Sale's an ace, so I think you're avoiding that Mariners lineup unless it's Cruz in like a 20, like you're making 20 lineups tonight. You can throw Cruz in one or two.
Yeah, that's exactly my take. So I mean, the White Sox, you're facing a lefty, and the White Sox have been really, I mean, just flat out abysmal for the most part of late and most of the season. I don't mind the Tim Anderson still at 3K. I still think I might continue to lean on him towards maybe a piece or two, hoping they hit in GPPs because they are going to get lower owned. People are sick of the White Sox, and I'm sick of them too.
I want them to be good. I like their lineup.
You look at them every day in good spots, and they're like, "Oh my god, these prices are great!" But you realize they've scored one run in like basically the last 42 innings or whatever it was. So
yeah,
they've been bad. But obviously, I still think GPP wise, you can look at them. I don't mind one of them or in cash. Like if you need a Tim Anderson at shortstop, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Todd Frazier's an interesting contrarian guy just because I think he's a little overpriced as well as being on the White Sox team that's been struggling. But at the same time, like, I don't think you can trust it. So he's kind of like Cruz, maybe a little higher end option in terms of upside. But yeah, I don't think you're playing him unless you're making 10 or more lineups either.
Yeah, definitely. And Jose Abreu, I mean, 2,800.
It's like a piece of cheese they're dangling out in front of you, except it's not cheese. It's just like rubber that smells like cheese.
It's like one of those ones with the holes in it because that's he's going to go 0 for 4. But or maybe I say that, maybe I jinxed him. He's going to go 2 for 4 with a homer, but who knows? But no. I think you look at the White Sox. I mean, more so as a contrarian move.
Yeah,
contrarian value pieces to your lineups tonight.
Right.
So that's going to wrap things up. We are with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DaveFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.